What's up, fam? Coach Amy P here with Freedom Found Podcast, where I help you move from I hate Mondays to I absolutely love what I do. I'm excited about this episode. I actually say this every time, don't I? But I am excited about today's episode because we're going to be talking about how to stop sabotaging your success right now, today. Kick all of those bad habits to the curb so you can start crushing your goals right now where you are, starting today. Within the next 24 hours, I believe that you're going to be able to take the steps that I'm going to show you today and apply them to accomplishing your goals. Are you ready? I'm ready. You ready? Okay, let's get into this episode. Listen, setting goals is easy, aren't they? You probably heard this conversation before. I'm pretty sure if you are a business owner, if you're thinking about starting any type of business, if you're currently on your job, you set goals. Setting goals are very easy, but accomplishing and achieving those goals is not easy, is it? Why? Why is it so difficult to really take the step to get to our goals? Or even once we take that step, why is it so difficult to really end up on the other side in accomplishing our goals? Well, listen, I actually believe that the reason that it's very difficult to accomplish our goals is because there's a lack of planning. That's my first reason, lack of planning. My second belief is that it actually requires a behavior change. And we don't want to change, do we? Changing is hard. Who wants to wake up and be something different immediately? When I think about change, I think about the butterfly and how the butterfly actually starts out as a caterpillar. Can you imagine what happens during that metamorphosis process where it changes and becomes something new? I'm pretty sure it hurts. There's some pain involved. I also think about a baby being born. It's like that baby is in that belly. It's forming, becoming a human being. Well, it's already a being, okay, once it's in your body. But at the end, it becomes something complete, a whole baby, a person with arms and toes and can make sounds and things like that. There's so much that happens on the other side. You become something new through all of that change. And that's what it feels like most of the time when we're trying to reach our goals. There is a desire that we see in a future state, and we know it requires something different from who we are and where we are currently. And sometimes we just don't know what it's going to take to get there, but we simply have the desire for this new thing, for this space that we want to see, this place that we want to be, or this person that we want to become. And so there's a lot that happens in between that space that causes difficulty, but it does require a ton of planning. Let me not say a ton, but it does require planning, strategic planning. And it also requires a little bit of behavior change to make it a little bit more easier, or to make it easier on you as you start to walk forward towards the goals that you've set, right? See, our goals, they're usually those big things that we've created for ourselves that we usually have a tough time achieving, even when we believe it's possible. Okay, we pray about it. God gives us that green light and say, you know what, that's what I want you to do. Go ahead and do that. But oops, it kind of gets a little tight, and we realize the requirements that are necessary for reaching that new space. It requires change, right? And so what happens is we start sabotaging ourselves. We start to sabotage the success that we're desiring, and we start building these behaviors of like procrastination. It's like, you know what, maybe I'll just do it later because it's too tough. And you start doubting yourself, and you're like, maybe this is not for me. Maybe this is for someone else. You start to hear that negative self-talk, like you're not good enough. You don't have the skills necessary to be or to do this thing that you're trying to do. You have this fear of failure. If I get out there, if I start doing this thing, what if it goes wrong? What if I fail? And all of this perfectionism things, I have to have it right before I actually do whatever the next step is. All of this stuff just kind of happens. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. And what's interesting, what the Bible says about doubt, or about a person who doubts, it says that he's like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed about by the wind. We don't want to be like that. We don't want to be like the wave of the sea, just being tossed about by the wind. We really want to get to the goals that we've set. We don't want to just be tossed about. We want to stay on the path. We want to take the next step. And that's what I'm going to help you do today. You can't get anywhere, friends, unless you know where you want to go and what you want to be or do. Let me say it again. You cannot get anywhere unless you know where you want to go and what you want to be or do. If you're not already being or doing this thing that you want, you must set a goal. And it is going to require a shift in behavior. Are we clear on that? So in this episode, I'm going to help you walk away prayerfully at the end of this episode. You're going to walk away with a clear understanding of goal setting, okay? And the steps necessary to accomplish your goals starting within the next 24 hours. Taking the first step within the next 24 hours. So take a breath. Take a moment right now. Take a breath. Just breathe. Pause for a second. And I want you to really think about everything that I just said in setting up this video about goals, about goal setting. Like, where are you currently on your journey? Where are you? Seriously, where are you at? Have you established any goals for yourself? Have you established any goals? Last week we talked about the Ikigai model, which helps you determine like that core happiness. And happiness, it's temporal, it's conditional. I believe more so in joy, but I believe things that make us happy can be found. And it's based on your passions, your missions, your professions, your vocation, and all the things we talked about last week. I want you to think about those things and start processing goals for yourself if you do not have any right now. What are those goals? Have you written them down? If you have not written them down, I am going to encourage you right now to pause this video, go get a piece of pen and paper, a journal, and let's talk through some of these goals today. Let's at least get something on paper to where we can start processing what you want to see in your life. Because like the quote said, I said earlier, you cannot get anywhere unless you know where you want to go and what you want to be or do. You can't. There's no movement. You're just going to be going about with the wind, just like the scripture said. You're just going to go about with the wind. And so as you write these goals down, if you're back, as you write these goals down, think about your level of satisfaction, right? In terms of your life right now. This is what I want you to do, this little activity. I want you to think about your level of satisfaction in terms of your life, your career, your business, it can be your relationships, your health, your family, your financial status, whatever it is. I want you to think about those things. It could be, something from the Ikigai model. Write them down, rating your level of satisfaction right now from 0 to 10. 0 being not satisfied at all, and 10 being I am highly satisfied. I want you to write down your satisfaction on those levels. Okay? So you're thinking about your career or your business, your relationships, your health, your family, your financial status, or you can choose something from your Ikigai model, which is which is your passion, what you're passionate about, your mission, whatever it is. Think about your level of satisfaction from 0 to 10. Rate yourself. Think about that right now. And then think about where you would like to be within the next year, within the next 6 months, within the next 30 days, within the next 24 hours. Process that for a moment. So just pause that for a second. I want you to hold on to that thought just for a second because we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. But choose one area from this list that you just made. I want you to choose one area you'd like to work on during this episode because we're going to keep talking about goal setting, but I want you to keep this goal that you just wrote down in your mind as we continue to talk about goal setting. Okay? All right. Let me take a sip of this tea because I'm choking at the moment. Yeah, I'm choking. But anyway, so before we dig into goal setting, we must address first and foremost the behavior change required, okay, to accomplish your goals. Remember earlier I said I believe there are two things that happens with goal setting and the reason why we don't accomplish our goals. One is because there isn't a plan. There's lack of planning. We haven't taken the time to meticulously write out each step in between this goal. After we set that goal, we start to work backwards to where we are currently now and assess our skills and the things that are necessary to be able to get to that goal. We haven't done that type of work. But then also, I think we know mentally, spiritually, and physically that the desired state that we want to see in the future requires a little bit of change. Like I think about my goal right now, one of my personal goals, right? And it's around money. Okay, it's a financial goal of mine. I see myself being a certain place within the next 5 years. But I know what it's going to take in order to see that type of money, that type of progress within the next 5 years. And it's such a sacrifice to be able to take a step forward, to save, to put aside what I currently have to be able to get to that. It has been a challenge. Let me just say, let me retract my steps, because I want you to understand it's a challenge, but I have made steps towards this goal that I'm talking about. So I want you to think about your own personal goal that you just said you were that the one that you just saved. See, when you set goals, the path to get there may seem easy at first. You may say, I'm going from point A to point B. Easy peasy. And really, a goal shouldn't be too easy, because if it's easy, it's not necessarily a goal. You wouldn't really be setting a goal if something was just easy for you. You can just get up the next day and just do it. That's not necessarily a goal. A goal is meant to really stretch you beyond where you are currently. It's really meant to kind of take you out of this comfort zone. It's really meant to like pull you towards something that you're being called to. That's a goal. See, it takes you out of your comfort zone where you feel safe, and in control. And it actually, the goal that you set, a goal actually exists in a place that requires a bit more stretching and growing here in the space that I call the growth zone, right? It's in this place that I call the growth zone where there's freedom, there's purpose, your dreams exist out there. Everything that you desire is over there in the growth zone. And so if you can imagine, point A is your comfort zone. You're trying to get all the way over here to point Z, which is your growth zone. And that's where all the freedom and your purpose and your dreams exist. But the reason why we struggle to make any progress towards this growth zone, see, is because as soon as we step outside of this comfort zone, we enter this space that's called the fear zone, where all this false evidence appearing as something real just exists. It's crazy how we convince ourselves like it's better to stay here because it's easy. It's too hard when I step out here in this fear zone. I'm afraid. It reminds me of the Israelites, man, from the Bible. As soon as it got hard for them, they literally complained and begged to go back into slavery because it was comfortable. They were like, we get fed over there. We get food. We got beds. We out here in this desert, lost, no food, eat manna. They complained. They preferred comfort over getting to the promised land, which is crazy. But I mean, I can relate because there are many times where even in my personal life and in my personal goal setting, I've decided, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't reach so far. Maybe that goal is too big of a goal for me right now. Let me scale it back and just focus on something a little bit more palatable for my taste, a little smaller. We do that to ourselves. We start comparing ourselves, to others, and all this lack of confidence, it just holds us back. We're like, forget it. I'm not even going to do that. But we have to have a strong desire, y'all. We really have to have our desire to get over to this growth space, to get to this new level that we're talking about, to get to this goal that we've set. That's why your goal has to be so aspirational, so pulling, such a calling. You have to have this motivation way more than that little small thing that keeps you in the fear space. You have to want that thing so much more that it just continues to pull you. So I want you to ask yourself right now, as you're thinking about what I'm talking about, like, what do you want? Like, what is it that you truly desire right now? It's really a deep question. And it's really one of those questions where you shouldn't just be able to say, oh, this. It does take time to sit with that question, to sit with yourself, to really self-reflect and think about what you actually want to see right now. Because the goals that you're setting, they should align to your mission and your vision, your personal values, and the thing that you want to see right now. The things that you desire, what you want to see in the world. Who do you want to be? All of those things, where do you want to be? What skills are necessary to get you there? Like, who's necessary for your journey to help get you there, to help hold you accountable so that when it gets tough out there in the fear zone, you can get back on track? Who? You know? So you want to extend your comfort zone. You want to extend your comfort zone by allowing yourself to really make mistakes, to push through challenges and build your resilience. This space is what I like to call the learning zone. So you've kind of walked after you've kind of decided to move out of that comfort zone. You kind of face this fear zone and you fight all those battles of your mind, all the battles of your emotion, thinking that you're not good enough. You try to kind of override all of those feelings of, self-doubt, and you take another step forward, and now you're in this space that's called the learning zone. And this is where you really start to take action and acquire the skills necessary to push you towards the goals that you've set for yourself. So you start to realize there are some things here that I need to work on. I need to work on my mind. I need to work on my mindset so that I'm able to kind of take a step forward. I need to work on whatever skills that are going to be needed for whatever this future state is. I need to figure out what that is now so I can start building my muscles to be able to maintain this new space that I'm walking into. You want to build your muscle to persevere. See, perseverance leads to maturity and completeness in our faith and our character, right? We start to trust that what we once just only believe is actually true through trial and error. Through making the mistakes, we start to realize, oh, wow, I actually can do this. I just need to kind of overcome the mistakes that I'm making. This part of the process is necessary. You're not going to be able to skip forward to the success. You are going to have to face trials and errors. Okay? You're going to have to do this. See, even the Bible talks about in Proverbs 21 that good planning and hard work leads to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty. See, we want to take our time to plan. We want to plan because the Bible also says, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete and lack nothing. You want to let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature, so you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Can you imagine yourself being mature? Would you rather be mature or would you rather be immature? Childlike. Would you rather be mature and complete or would you rather be immature and incomplete? You don't want to have a product or a process you don't want to have a business that's out there immature and incomplete. It doesn't create any trust or safety for your clients. So again, like I said earlier, see, this business, this transition, whatever it is, wherever you are right now, it's like a baby. You have this gift of birth and the baby, you're waiting and you're excited about this baby being born and it grows inside the belly for 9 months. But we cannot rush that baby to come out of there. The baby will be born prematurely and immaturely at a certain phase of its life if you do not allow that baby to grow inside of the mother's belly for 9 months to its completion and then be born. But that process of that baby being born comes with all the labor pains. It comes with all of the birth pains. It comes with all of the growing pains, the labor pains before that baby is here. And it also reminds me of like a seed. A seed dies in the ground before it sprouts and it faces so many seasons before it actually bears fruit. So must you. And when you start to understand this concept of growth, you'll arrive at the growth zone where all the magic happens. You set new goals, you start to accomplish your objectives, and you transform, just like that beautiful butterfly that we talked about earlier. And eventually becoming or doing everything you desired when you were in the comfort zone starts to feel true. It gets easier and you get closer and closer and closer to having the skills, the motivation, all of those things that are necessary to accomplish your goals. So there's no growth in the comfort zone, but there's also no comfort in the growth zone. But don't you worry, because there is a clear path that you can set for yourself to see personal success. What's up, family? Coach Amy P here. Are you waking up on Mondays feeling like you are stuck in a job that you do not love? Listen, I get it. But guess what? It does not have to be that way. My coaching services, you can break free from the I hate Monday cycle and start saying, I love what I do. Imagine waking up excited for work, feeling fulfilled on purpose for your destiny, saying, I absolutely love what I do. Don't let another day go by feeling unfulfilled and uninspired. Visit CoachAmyP.com today. Matter of fact, right now to submit your discovery session. Let's unlock your fullest potential, discover your passions, and create the career you absolutely love, whether it's on the job or off the job. I can't wait to help you on this journey. Let's get back to the episode. So imagine the one area from your life satisfaction choice earlier. Did you write down a goal? If you have not written down a goal, I want you to go ahead and write however you rated yourself. I want you to think about where you want to see yourself now within the next year, or you can say within the next 6 months, the next 30 days, or within the next 24 hours. Go ahead and write that down right now. See, Zig Ziglar, he says a goal properly set is halfway reached. I love that. A goal properly set, it's already halfway reached. Just by writing it down and setting that goal properly, you're already halfway there. Okay? So this is so true. Now that you've written it down, this is so true. So now that you've written this goal down, I want to teach you how to make your goal smarter. Yes, I said smarter. You may have heard of the term SMART goals. Okay, I'm pretty sure if you're working in a corporate space, or maybe not, you've heard of SMART goals. It's a very popular goal setting style and technique, but I'm going to teach you how to make that goal, even that process, smarter. And yes, it is an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, relatable, time bound, evaluated, and reward. So let's get into this. Okay. So think about your goal. You already have your goal. Make sure you have it there. Let's go ahead and work these things out. I'm going to give you some examples so that you have a little bit of understanding around what every step in this process, actually represent. And as you listen to the example, go ahead and start to think about your personal goal and how you want to kind of make yours a little bit smarter. Okay. So when you think about specific, which is the S in the smarter analogy, so specific. Goals should be specific and clearly defined. It's not good enough to just say, I want to lose weight, right? We can't just say, I want to lose weight. You shouldn't just say, I want to lose weight. That's not very specific. It's very vague. A specific goal would be like, I want to lose 10 pounds, okay, in the next 3 months by following a balanced diet and exercising for 30 minutes, 5 days a week. That was very specific. Very specific. I kind of gave myself, all of this what and why type things. Specific goals should actually answer questions like, what do I actually want to accomplish? Okay. Why is this important? Who's involved? Where will it happen? What resources or constraints are involved? I like to think about my who, what, when, where, and how. We learned this in elementary school. It really makes your goal a little bit more specific when you start answering all of those questions to be able to have a pretty solid and specific goal to be able to accomplish. So it gives you a little bit more information to be able to start mapping out things inside of that goal. Okay. The next part of the acronym is measurable. Okay, goals should be measurable so that progress can be tracked and evaluated. Okay, so it should include some type of like quantifiable criteria that indicate when the goal has to be achieved. So here's an example. For example, I want to save money. That's not measurable, right? Doesn't have any quantifiable data in it. It's like, okay, how much money do you want to save? You're not telling me anything. But a measurable goal would be, I want to save $5,000 by the end of the year by setting aside $100 from each paycheck. This goal is very measurable. $5,000 by the end of the year is clear. So now I can mark my calendar and say, you know what? By the end of the year, I want to have $5,000. I know that there's 12 months in a year. I can backtrack and say, oh, if I set aside $100 from each of my paycheck, I'll get to my $5,000 goal. So you're going to have to set that end goal and begin with the end in mind so that you can start to backtrack and figure out what step you need to take today to be able to get to that end goal. I'm hoping this makes sense, right? The next part of the acronym is achievable. So goals should be achievable and realistic, given the resources, skills, time frame available, your resources, your skill set, all of those things. While it's important to set it's very important. While yes, it is important to set ambitious goals that actually challenge you and stretch you. We talked a little bit about that earlier, but they should still be within the realm of possibility and reality in terms of what you're able to do. right? So setting like unattainable goals, goals that are too far in advance, too ambitious, can only lead to like frustration and demotivation, and it leads to that fear zone that we were talking about earlier, where sometimes it just feels like it's too much, it's too big. So you want to make sure the goals that you set are achievable to you and what's realistic to you. If you can think it, if you can see it and think it and believe it, then baby, it's possible. Okay. If it's in your mind and you actually can see it and you know you have the skill, or you know someone that has the skill and you have the ability to kind of connect with them, then yes, it is possible for you. But you're not going to say like, I want to run a marathon next month, and you're a beginner runner. Like you just started running today. That's unrealistic. But you could say, I want to complete a 5K race in 3 months by following a structured training plan. So you're going to put in the work. You're going to take the steps to get better and better every day so that you can run that 5K. But if you just started running, it's probably unrealistic to say that you're going to run a marathon the next day. Now, I'm not saying you can't go out there and run a marathon. I'm just saying, let's be realistic about the goals that we set, because that eliminates all of that sabotaging, self-doubt, and the demotivation that you feel that comes around the goals that are too big or unrealistic for where we are currently. And we kind of demotivate ourselves and find ourselves again drifting in the wind because we've set these large goals and we haven't done the work prior to know that this is realistic for me in my current situation. Hopefully I'm making sense. Okay. All right. The next part of the acronym is relevant. So goals should be relevant and aligned with your personal values, okay, and priorities. So earlier we talked about, these areas of your life where you're not satisfied, right? Where would you like to be? Okay, your goals should contribute to your overall vision and mission, helping you move closer to the desired outcomes like we talked about before. They should be set around your missions and your vision. Okay, this purpose of calling will pull you from that comfort zone through the fear zone and into that learning zone, okay, to establish and grow you into the person that you're meant to be and what's for you. Let's not forget that. So an example would be like, I want to learn Spanish. That may not be relevant if you don't have any plans, okay, to travel to any type of Spanish speaking country or have any friends that speak Spanish or use the language in your personal or professional life. Like, it gets difficult if you're just saying, I want to speak Spanish. That's nice. It's a nice dream to have. But what will make this goal relevant, would be something like, I want to learn Spanish to improve my communication skills and connect with Spanish speaking colleagues at work. So now you're connecting this Spanish speaking goal with a professional skill of, I want a professional and a personal development skill, a professional and a personal development skill around communication, and also so that you can be better with your colleagues at work. So now you have a larger purpose connected to becoming better at your Spanish. Hopefully that makes sense. The next acronym is time bound. And so goals should be time bound or have some type of deadline, a clear deadline or timeline for their completion. This really creates like this sense of urgency. It helps you kind of prioritize your task and decide what you need to do every single day to be able to get to whatever that end goal is, like we were talking about earlier. An example would be, okay, let's say you say, I want to start a business someday. Again, great goal, but it lacks a time frame. Someday, you can't measure someday. Like, when is someday? Today is someday. Tomorrow is someday. And the next day will be someday. So it lacks a clear time frame. A time-bound goal would be something like, I want to launch my online boutique within 6 months by completing market research, sourcing products, and setting up a website. See how that feels? 6 months. It creates urgency. 6 months, it's like, wow, that's not a lot of time. And I'm saying I want to complete some research, I want to source some products, and I want to set up my website. So I can clearly take those 3 areas and start mapping out all of the things in between there. What is it going to take to do a website? If I need to do research, let me go ahead and see what the market is currently doing. What do I need to be? If I want to source product, who's going to be my wholesale person? Who am I going to work with to source products? Do I need a photographer? All the questions you should start asking in your mind to start building out this goal to better reach, to start building out the tasks and the actions necessary to actually get to this goal that you've set, to launching your business. The next part of the acronym is evaluate it. Your goals, you need to check in very often with your goals to evaluate them, to review them, to track your progress, to see like what challenge, to ask yourself like what challenges are you facing, to kind of ask for feedback so that you can make adjustments along the way. See, I think part of the problem with goal setting and why goals, sometimes we give up on our goals or we don't actually make progress on our goals is because we don't take time to really stop and evaluate where we currently are. We may set a goal and we anticipate that we're going to get there by a certain time, but all types of stuff happen in our life. We're humans. We have daily challenges. I mean, all types of crazy things, obstacles get in our way, and it causes us to have to tweak and adjust our plans and our goals and the task in between to make sure we can still track and get towards our goal. So you want to consider evaluating your progress to see what you need to change, what you need to identify challenges and see what you need to change. Maybe you need to pull someone in. You want to consider evaluating your goals very often. And an example of an evaluated goal, for example, I want to increase my sales. Like that's not very evaluated. It has no specific metrics, right? But an evaluated goal would be something like this. I want to increase my monthly sales by 20% within the next quarter. I'm implementing a new marketing strategy, okay? New marketing strategy. That's that change up, right? You've done some research, you've kind of evaluated where you are, and you've decided I need to do a new marketing strategy if monthly sales haven't reached 20% and tracking sales performance weekly. So if you're tracking your performance every week or every day, now you're able to see, oh, we're not close to getting to 20% by this next quarter. So I need to make an adjustment to ensure we get to 20% by the end of the next quarter. And so evaluating your goals is going to be super important to making progress, to overcoming those obstacles and challenges that come into way, to figure out resources that are going to be necessary to kind of keep moving forward, to get that new motivation that may be needed from a team member, from a coach, from someone on your team. You're going to need that. Okay. So make sure you're evaluating your goals. All right. And the last part of the SMARTER acronym is reward. I love this one. Some folks like to say, instead of reward, they may say review, but evaluate review is very similar to me. So I choose reward, and I do believe you should reward yourself. You should reward yourself as you make progress. Celebrate yourself, the small wins. This keeps you motivated on your journey, okay? And to learn from your setbacks. So reward yourself. You know, these rewards play a crucial role in boosting your self-confidence along the way. When you recognize and celebrate your achievements, no matter how small, you reinforce this positive self-image, this ability to like believe in yourself and know that you can achieve all that you put your mind to. You know, it builds a sense of accomplishment and motivation, validating all your efforts, nurturing this healthy self-esteem, knowing that you're getting better and better and closer to success because you have put in the work. You can see the process. You're measuring your goals. You're evaluating your goals and reviewing where you are, accepting feedback, making adjustments along the way. That, my friends, should be celebrated. And while you're celebrating along the way, you may get tired. It can be exhausting and overwhelming at times, but just remember what the Bible says about not growing weary in doing good. Okay, for at the proper time, you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. I love this verse because it reminds me and it encourages us about perseverance. And we know perseverance is going to build character. I've said a lot. I've talked about a lot. I've kind of talked a little bit about the behavior that's necessary to get you out of that comfort zone, moving into the growth zone. And I've talked about how to make your goals smarter, right? Using the SMARTER acronym. So once you've set these goals, what do you do next? Like what's next after you've set the goal? You've kind of started moving past the comfort zone into this growth zone. You've kind of mapped things out. You've used the SMART analogy to write your goals out. Now what? Now, my friends, what you want to do is start to chunk away. Chunking. Chunking is going to be your best friend when it comes to goal setting. And something to help you remember chunking is one of my favorite sayings is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. A goal, your big goals. And by the way, when I work with my clients, I make them set big goals. And big is an acronym that represents bold, initiative, and growth. So something that requires you to be bold, something that requires you to take initiative, and something that requires you to grow. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Can you imagine eating an elephant? An elephant is so big, weighs a ton. Can you imagine having to eat that elephant at one time? You would probably die. I don't think our bodies would be able to take it. We wouldn't be able to digest an elephant. But when you think about eating that elephant one bite at a time, yes, it may take days, it may take weeks, months, or even maybe even a year for some people, depending on your appetite and how you are. It may take a little bit of time, but at least you can get that elephant down if you ate it one bite at a time. And it's the same thing with your goals. You want to start chunking your big goals now into smaller, more manageable tasks, okay, to prevent the overwhelm, and it helps you track your progress more effectively. So now that you've set your goals, I want you to start working backwards from the goal that you've set and breaking down those big goals into smaller tasks that you can start to put a timeline to on the task that you've set for yourself. What can I do in 6 months? What can I do in 30 days? What can I do today, starting tomorrow? Matter of fact, pause this video, write down what step are you going to take within the next 24 hours right now that's going to get you closer to the goal that you set earlier. What can you do right now to get you a step closer to this goal that you've set? Taking one bite out of that elephant, you're one step closer. If you're a person like me, you may need to write these things down on a vision board, start to draw it out, do your mind mapping. I'm a big believer in a nice little task list. I use a tool called Asana. I map everything out in Asana all the way down to the day in terms of what I'm going to do every day to get to that goal that I've set for myself. And every day I take one bite, one little bite, one step every single day. I focus on the one thing on that day. I'm not worried about the 1,000 steps that need to happen before I get to the end goal. I'm just focused on the present moment, the day. Because guess what, family? Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow has enough problems of its own. We don't know what the future brings. We have to focus on today. And if you create a clear path and you take it one step at a time, you can deal with the challenges of the day. You can only deal with the things and make adjustments for the day to accomplish the one thing or the couple things that you set in your day. And it's going to get you closer and closer and closer to the end. Success is so close, but it does require you stepping outside of your comfort zone. It requires you getting rid of all of those sabotaging thoughts. It requires you to trust and believe in the Lord and the faith that He has instilled in you. It is possible to do these things, but you do have to take action and take the next step. Write the vision, make it plain, start to build out all of those steps that are in between the goals that you've set. Be flexible on this journey. Adapt to what you need in the present moment. I'm looking forward, right along with you guys, to hear the Lord say, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things." I want you to remember that as you walk away. Believe that the little things are going to lead to more of the big things. Just believe that. Okay? This parable of the talents, like, it teaches us this principle of faithfulness and sticking through to the end and stewarding over the small things. It's important to steward over the small things, the little things, being faithful over those small opportunities and resources, which will always, I'm telling you, it's going to lead to greater responsibilities and blessings. So I'm just praying that this episode encourages you today. I know we got to get out of here. I'm praying that you learn a little bit. You were able to write down your goals. You were able to start working things out. And you had a shift in perspective today around your goals. I'm praying that happened for you. Share your feedback in the comment section. What are you going to do in the next 24 hours? What action are you going to take right now to be able to get to your goal? I want to know. Somebody please comment below. Tell me what you're going to do right now. And as always, like, subscribe to my channel. Make sure you share this video with someone who needs it. See you next time.
Freedom, freedom, freedom.